Hello everyone and welcome back. Ever since I filmed this video right up here, the $500 versus $5,000 camera challenge, I have been receiving quite a few requests about doing something similar but with an even older camera, because they were arguing that that camera was still pretty new, 2014, and it still had quite some good features. While I don't necessarily agree, I will say this. For me, doing photography means it needs to have some modern features. For example, a tilt screen, a touch screen, and the fleet of modern features which you would expect out of a modern camera, instead of something from, I don't know, 2010 or even older that has its royalties, but it's not really worth my time, the effort, or honestly, everyone's time. So I will say that for me, for a camera to pass at least what I use, it needs to have some modern features, and honestly, I feel like 2014 is the most I will go. However, I plan to do something even more interesting today. Instead of using a camera, well, not instead of, I'm going to use it side by side to do a comparison, I'm going to use my phone. This is an S21 Ultra released in 2021, nothing really that special by modern standards. It's quite mediocre by now, and it's pretty old as well. So I'm going to be using my phone, of course, shooting raw or manual, and see how I do with this. The lighting setup is mostly going to be the same, but obviously I can't use my flashes with this thing. However, I'm going to some indoor spots today, so I don't think I'll need my flashes, at least most of the time. So, all for the best. I'll figure out how to use this thing in manual mode because I've never tried that before, and let's see how that compares against this bloody thing here. I've decided to save the best for last, so I'm going to unveil the phone photos at the very end of the video without the influence of all of this camera gear, because let's be honest here, there's really no competition. This gear or this lighting is going to be better than the phone. That's just how it is. However, I do want to see how good the phone holds up, because without all this lighting, yes, still seeing that I have two lights with it, it's going to be somewhat difficult to go up against, a top-tier camera. Anyway, enough rambling, let's take a look at what I'm using. 70-200 at 100mm f4.0 for slightly more compression, because I want to see all the controls on the dashboard with the dial slightly pushing up, with all the blue background and all the reflections as much as possible. The lighting on this one is slightly more difficult because for some reason the face is extremely pale, and I don't really like that, so I decided, well, nobody's here anyway, I'm just going to pull out my second flash for all the fill light in front of the face. So, two flashes, one I'm going to be holding, say, around here or so, with the lights all around the place. So one on top of the camera right here, one I'm going to be holding around here or so, projecting light onto the eyes and giving that slight reflection as I usually like it. One flash is right in front of the pocket through right here, giving that slight outline because most of the things are indeed more dark shaded colors, so I want that flash outline. Everything is relatively stable. This is very similar to the shot I did a while ago. I'll show it right up here. It's vertical, it's wide angle, but recently I kind of prefer more telephoto ones, if you can't tell. Anyway, let's take a look at the doll as well. So the joints are holding up great, which is good, but I don't expect it to be extremely stable, if you get what I mean. So everything is leaning towards this tripod, and I'm not particularly concerned. It's really windy outside, it's indoors in here, it's calm for me, so I think this will work. Anyway, enough rambling, and let's take a look at the shot. I would say overall pretty okay. It's nothing to be proud of because it's not really that special. However, I do feel like it's a way better photo compared to last time because I was able to eliminate all the gray parts of the frame and just focus on the blue and pink and green of the whole thing. So I think it gets a pass from me. But anyway, I think it's time to get the phone photo as well. I have the phone shot set up, and honestly, the most difficult thing with this entire setup is the phone itself, because I've never really used manual mode on this thing since, I don't know, however long ago. I bought this thing since late 2021 and I've just putting it on auto, so what's the matter with it? Well, two big things. One, I can't really use the flashes on this thing because there's no hot shoe mount, pretty self-explanatory. So I have to resort to using these things. The little lights, they're not really that strong enough, but I think they're good enough for what they are. So mostly should be fine. Another problem is that the sensor size is pretty small on a phone, so I don't expect the image quality to be even on par with anything remotely close to a big camera. Let's take a look at the metadata as indicated by the phone. ISO 50, lowest ISO you can go, speeds of 1/20th of a second because I want more light into the sensor. I don't know why the EV is going crazy. It says plus 1.3, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's the phone, I don't know. As for the focus, I auto-focused on the face itself and then turn it off, and now I'm on manual focus because I still plan on stacking with this thing, just so you know that. I'm retaining my whole style, but just trying to replicate it on this phone. White balance of 6500K. I hope it actually saves the RAW file to the phone, because I know it does, but I'll have to dig it up back home. And the lights, I'm going to be shining one up here and the one right in front of the Pocket 3, so basically the same as the camera shot, just without the addition of the lights. But yeah, that's the phone setup, and as I said just now, I'm going to be unveiling the photo at the very end of the video, so as to keep it as more of a secret. And I don't think I'll know how it looks even as of now, so on with the video. Alright, I actually wanted to shoot one more photo with this sign right here, if you see what I mean. This one right here. I actually considered doing it, but it's honestly not that good in a way, so I'm giving up on that. I don't want to edit some mediocre photos and just be disappointed back home. So instead of doing that, I'm going to use some of my time and change the doll in here instead. Yes, I know it's someone's store, but I've been here for like an hour and nobody stopped me, so they can't stop me when I'm doing something else, right? Because there's nobody in here anyway. So I'm going to do it in here because changing dolls out is better indoors in someone else's place, undercover as well. So doing that here, preparing for the next shot, and all for the best. On to the changing montage. After a bit of a train ride and a little bit of walking, we are at the Strand Arcade. Those of you who have watched me for a while will know this place, and I kind of get ridiculed by my friend for coming to this place quite a lot, and I do admit it because it's a pretty nice place. But I'm on the third floor right now. I don't really care about this one. What I want is right underneath there. The second one is the best one out there, and I am seeing a security guard right there, which makes me ever so slightly concerned. I am afraid that less of not using a tripod, but more of I can't put stuff on a balcony or on the handrails because it's dangerous. But I think it should be fine, right? Because I've seen my fair share of security guards around here, and none of them really do say anything about it. However, I am going to do some B-roll around the place first because I do have some time before it closes, around like 2 hours or so. So some B-roll, hopefully I don't get harassed by a security guard, and here's for nothing. So this is the spot I come to every single time, well, almost every single time when I come to the Strand. You see this angle right here? I shot here last time with a 20mm, I'll show the photo right up here. It's okay, it's probably the best photo I've got in the Strand so far. I don't think there's a better one that showcases the doll and everything in the Strand, but I don't know. This arcade is really, really special, and it kind of reminds me of that Royal Arcade place in Melbourne. God, that was a piece of shit. But anyway, I'm planning to shoot somewhere around the lines of like this, with a 28 or 35mm shooting slightly to the side and showing more of the place with a probably F4 to blur out some of the background, but not everything. You see Bob over there? Yeah, hopefully he doesn't come over and ruin my fun, because I've shot here 6 or 7 times at this point with a tripod and nobody has said anything about it, so hopefully he doesn't come over and be like, oh, security concerns, and goes to a donut instead. If he does come over and says something about it, you already know what I'm going to say about it, right? All for the best. Let's set up. Alright, finally done with the shot. Thankfully Bob didn't come over and, harass me with the privacy concerns, but this shot is still kind of risky within its own mindset. Putting things up on really high places, with very minimal support, is kind of my thing at this point. Even the Pocket 3 itself, it's mounted on a not so secure tripod, but I think a Gorilla Pod is pretty good enough. Anyway, let's take a look at what I'm using. 15-35 at slightly over 28mm at f4 for more control of the bokeh, because I originally wanted to try out f2.8, but it just looked too much in a way. So f4, f4.5, kind of good range here, but I think it's really good enough to blur out everything in the background. 2 lights this time, 1 light on top of the camera, 1 light I'll be holding slightly around here or so. Now these are just for the face itself, and everything else has to be edited because it's really dark in here despite how bright it might look, and the lighting is slightly unbalanced. From above we have everything that's glowing here, and from the back we have the really yellow lights. Luckily I can adjust the color temperature around the same range, so it shouldn't be that much of a concern. Horizontal composition, I originally wanted to try out vertical for slightly different stuff, but you know how much I love my wallpapers, right? So everything seems to be all right. Let's also take a look at this. Slightly crooked set over here. The legs are a little bit elevated and everything seems to be leaning on it. Thankfully the joints are at least holding up this time, so everything should be fine. Without further ado, let's take a look at the shot. I would say decent enough. Looking at the back of the camera, it seems around the same stuff as the last time. I think the last time had a little bit better, what do you call that, color grading, but this time maybe I'll use some different presets and try out something new, a really, really black and white tone to it. Who knows? Anyway, I think it's time for the phone shot. Alright, now the setup was really quick because, well, everything was partially set up. I just had to switch out the camera for the phone and just take off the lights, so really easy. Let's take a look at the metadata of the phone. 1/6 of a second with the speed, so ISO 50 as well, maintaining as little noise as possible because this thing doesn't really handle that well in low light anymore, and it's starting to get dark, so hopefully it handles okay. If not, denoise software is kind of the savior here. For the focus, you know, same thing as just now with autofocus on the face and then turning it off, switching to manual focus. Hopefully the in-body stabilization actually doesn't screw up the entire thing, because I know some cameras, or at least some phones, love to do that. iPhones love doing that, so you can't really do a pitch perfect shot back to back. Hopefully this does not do that, and I can actually do some stacking, but I don't really think you'll see the faults in that, because you're not gonna zoom in a phone photo, right? Hopefully not. As for the white balance, 3600K, let's switch that to manual for the best effect. Hopefully I don't need to micro adjust that back home, because that would be hell. 2 lights, one light on top of the, well, I want to say on top of the camera, I'm just holding it on top of the camera because there's not anywhere to exactly mount that. One, again, at the same time, right over here, similar to just now, and everything seems to look at least okay, I would say. Everything is stable, things are at least all right, and the security guard is gone, so I am on less concerns. But anyway, I think that's it for the phone shot, so I'll be unveiling that at the end of the video, so stay tuned and let's pack up. I'll be honest with you, I probably forgot to film the behind the scenes footage for the Million Knife claw machine place just now. By that I mean I forgot the, you know, footage that you like seeing from my first person perspective, and the third person and me explaining, looking at my mugshot for like 3 or 4 minutes. So you're just gonna have to see me walk around pointing at things, doing a soy face for I don't know how long, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, depending on how long the video is going to be or the editing is going to be. Yeah, around that. So there's also going to be one less shot from this entire video, but honestly, I don't think anyone's going to mind. Plus, you're here to see me ramble about the phone and the camera and, you know, the difference between all of that. Honestly, today has been really interesting, and let's be real here, nothing really, you know, compares to this. This is a really good camera, top of the line, but even with a 10-year-old, I'd say mid-tier camera, it could probably outpace the phone, because in the end of the day, it's just a phone. The sensor size is probably smaller than your fingernail, not to mention mine, because I have big fingernails, but either way, it's not that good of a camera, but you can always have one in your pocket, so that's what that matters. I'm really interested to see how that turns out, because combined with my editing, and you know, a lot of people are not going to have the original files, the whole thing. I'm really interested to see how much it can pull and how good or bad it can look. So enough dangling the keys in front of you. You know, I've just been doing that for the entire bloody video. Enough of that. Let's go look at the photos, because I'm also really interested. In 3, 2, 1. And we're back. As promised earlier in the video, I will be trying to isolate these photos away from the actual camera photos as much as possible, because despite how much and how good they would be, there is really no competition compared to, you know, an actual camera, not to mention a top tier one with actual good lighting. So without further ado, let's take a look at the first one on screen right now. As we can see, colors look, I'd say, okay. The blues are pretty deep, the pinks are alright, and the skin tone is decent, but we do see a little bit of yellowing on the feet or on the legs themselves. However, I am not too concerned about all of this. I would dare say that the editing actually changed the color tone quite a bit, because it did not look quite as good when I looked at it at the back of my phone. Everything looks fine, the details are okay, sharpness is okay, but you can definitely see some artifacting at the front of the hair, because it's a phone photo. I don't expect such a small sensor to be that detailed anyway. As we can see, background is really, really clear. It's like it's using f11 or f13 on a normal camera, so yeah, you're not getting any background blur from that, though I know that AI can help with a lot of these situations, but I really don't recommend it, because AI is not quite advanced enough to do bokeh in a normal-ish way, but some of the times if you're doing people portraits, it's a bit good enough. Now, some comparisons that I definitely need to do is the color bit depth. Let me explain a little bit about that, because when I was editing these photos, at least on my own laptop, it was not quite strong enough. There wasn't enough data, information, or color bit for me to push the edits as much as I want to, because on the R5 or on other cameras, a proper one, I could push it really, really hard and there would not be any issues. Well, some of the older ones would have, but not the modern ones. But for a phone, it's just pulling its best at this point. There is, however, one very important thing that I want to say, and let's put it on screen right now. This is the unprocessed RAW. And what I mean by that is the unprocessed RAW by the phone, not even by myself. So this is what the phone actually sees from its perspective. And on screen right now is what the phone actually gives you without any prior editing. Well, editing in a way that the phone's already edited the goddamn photo. So what you see is a combination of a lot of processing and a lot of editing before you even get to the editing part, on the computer. So do I say the phone is really good? Yes and also no, because it can do a lot of processing within seconds, but at the same time, you have to rely on all of that to get even a good photo. Anyway, enough of that, on to the next photo. And on screen right now. Alright, this is a little bit more different because I used a wide angle for this one, so it's a bit more fair. Usually with most phones, the widest angle, not widest one actually, the second widest one, because a lot of phones have 0.5 or 0.6, usually the 1x lens and the sensor on that thing is the best one out of the whole phone. So this is a bit more fair because the last one was 3x and thus lower megapixel, lower resolution, the whole 9 yards. Let's take a look at this one. A lot of artifacting on the face itself because, well, it's a bit further away and it's, not portrait orientation. If this was portrait orientation, I'm pretty sure it would look a lot better, but this is what you get. You can see the lack of megapixels on the feet and slightly under that on the railing itself. You can see a lot of artifacting with the reflections, which is never a good thing. Again, bokeh itself is likely not a strong suit of these phones. As you can see in the background, it's very, very clear. You can just read every single word under there, and I can almost read everything under, the second floor, all the signs. I can even see a JB Hi-Fi sign, Jesus Christ. So not exactly the best thing. Another problem with these things is that the foreground is really, really visible, as you can see with the railing and the pole, and that green plant right in front of the door is just an eyesore, let's be honest. All the lighting is slightly off, and what's interesting is that I actually use the same lights compared to the camera photo, and the camera really did turn out a lot better. I'm not saying that it should be on the same level, but don't expect it to be very, very similar is what I'm saying. Again, here's the unprocessed RAW. Once again, unprocessed RAW means from the phone itself, not even by my editing, nothing, is just the RAW from the phone. And as you can see, the colors are just completely off. They're not very good, and there is some kind of, what should I call it, distortion, a little bit of it, because the camera has not corrected that part yet. It's acceptable for a phone, however, as you can see from this photo, it's also very, very unsharp, which makes me a bit concerned seeing that this is the highest quality camera lens sensor part of the phone. Of course, keep in mind this is a 3-year-old phone and it's nothing new by current standards, but I honestly don't think it would have changed a lot by now. So yeah, it's not very good. But overall, I'd say the phone has done an amazing job for processing these things. I could not imagine myself being able to process, that into this. But I started all my editing with the processed RAW photos. So processed RAW, I did some color editing, I did my stacking, all of that back into this photo, which you see on screen again right now, these two right here. Just one more word of note. A lot of these phones have so-called in-body image stabilization. It's mostly a digital form, but some phones do have it in an optical way. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but I want to just say a lot of this actually has impacted image quality and also the stacking part of things. Luckily, it's just by that slight millimeter or so, and there's not a lot of resolution for me to work with these photos either way, so it really didn't impact it that much, thank God. And so, would I say a phone is good enough for actual photography? Well, yes and also no. Yes, in the ways that if you gave me, I don't know, a top tier phone like an iPhone 15 Pro Max or a Samsung S24 Ultra, maybe, sure, they're really good phones, they're really good cameras, but after seeing the raw photos without the processing, it kind of leaves me a little bit concerned. Yes, I can do a lot of stacking, yes, I can do a lot of more Photoshop magic with it, but I don't think it's really worth the effort. Honestly, having an older camera, I would say maybe after 2015 is what I mean by older camera, so take that as you wish. But that would be a way better solution if you want to take an actual proper photo, because a lot of these things, they just rely on processing power. Yes, they look good. Yes, they're really convenient because, you know, it's just in your pocket. But at the same time, if you're doing something hardcore, maybe not. However, there is one caveat to all of this, is that if you do video on your phone or just vlogging or some casual stuff, it's actually really useful because these sensors actually thrive really well with processing and then video. Photos, maybe not so much, but you're not exactly zooming in a lot in videos anyway, aren't you? I'm not zooming a lot with this thing, and I won't be zooming a lot even on my R5 when I'm using 8K, so yeah. I think it's good enough for video, but photos, debatable, especially when you're not using a top tier phone or just an older phone. So I would recommend just get a cheaper camera. A point and shoot could work, and maybe don't use your phone. Use it if you don't have anything else because it's convenient, and if you don't want to bring a camera, sure, but in any other case, please use a camera. Anyway, thank you for watching to the absolute end of this horrible video. Like and subscribe to see more of this content. I will be doing different kinds of tests about different cameras, different lenses, or different budget stuff. So leave a comment down below, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Lemon out.